Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? We interrupt your lunch hour to bring you episode 8 of Madison+Main's Conversations with Clients. I tried to see if it's on. There's a delay. I think I'm already on. It's a pleasure to bring this to you every week. As I mentioned, this is episode 8 of Conversations with Clients. Very exciting. Today we have two special guests from the world famous Alliance Group right here in Richmond, Virginia, just down the road from us on Main Street. Instead of having a conversation with a client today, we're having a conversation with a very valued partner. We've been working with these guys for about 8 or 9 years, believe it or not, on a lot of different things. Today, first, and I've got the sound machine, so you can clap along for the folks. And I do this because they can't hear you clapping at home. So first, account executive Jeff Zendrin.
Hello, everyone.
How you doing, man?
Doing well. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm doing good. I'm doing wonderful. I've also got the chief operating officer. We got the big guy, the man in charge, kind of, right? Usually.
Kind of, sort of.
Andy Porch.
Thanks, Dave.
There you go. And I promised Andy not to give you the. There we go. Sorry. Everybody loves my sound machine.
It's great.
Yes, isn't it? Well, the Zoom meetings, man, they're weird, right? You can't get feedback. I mean, like I've been on Zoom like all day today, from like 8 a.m. this morning to now. And it was really cool. Derek with me, the folks at Madison+Main here today are Kent Brockwell and Derek Fair, running the behind the scenes stuff today. But part of the thing is you can't even get into the normal work environment the last couple of months because you're doing stuff on Zoom all the time, it seems like. One, Derek, can you help me out? I can't see these guys here. I think I've got the wrong screen up. There you go. See, I get the technical assistance there because there you are. I wanted to see you guys. So
thank you.
Now I can see your lovely faces. Andy and Jeff, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to get on with us today. For those of you who do not know, I want to explain what Alliance Group is and one of the reasons why we're talking to them today. Other than just being incredibly handsome, intelligent young men that I'm talking to here today, these guys are actually really, really good at what they do. The Alliance Group is a full-service PR and government relations firm. They said they got more than 20 years, 2 decades worth of experience there, but I think it's a little bit more than that, considering how long we've worked together and how many people you got over there. You got 8 folks, got an 8-person team, right?
Correct.
And you guys do an enormous amount of stuff for a small boutique firm here. And one of the reasons why we partnered with you a few years ago, it just seemed that Alliance Group plugged into Madison+Main really well. Okay, you do stuff that we don't do. You do the association building and the outreach and the government affairs kind of work that we don't do. And so we've been able to partner on a few things. Andy, tell me a little bit more about the kind of things that you guys do at Alliance Group.
Yeah, Dave, as you said, we're a full service Richmond-based public relations firm, and our founder and CEO, Rob Jones, opened the doors 21 years ago, which is hard to believe. Like you guys, we are based here in Richmond and work with clients across the Commonwealth and then more broadly in the Mid-Atlantic region, and work with a host of public and private sector clients on their PR needs, and also assist clients in the grassroots space. And we also have an association management practice as well. And so, you know, like you all, you know, we've had the good fortune to be around for a little while. And you mentioned the word partnership at the outset, and that's a really important theme. And we have really enjoyed partnering with you all. And it's something that's, you know, we look forward to continue doing for many years into the future.
Well, I appreciate that. Jeff, I know that you do a lot of work, everything from PR to grassroots kind of stuff. Tell me a little bit more about the day-to-day, what you do.
Yeah, so account executive over here at Alliance Group, which means that I run several of our public relations accounts. And so I'm really kind of hands-on, direct, interacting with the clients and helping them meet their needs. You know, on the grassroots side, that tends to mean going out, taking our client's message and sharing it amongst people who they're trying to target, or their target audience for their message. And, you know, we've collaborated on Virginia Energy Sense extensively on that. But sometimes that's, you know, general public, sometimes it's a very narrow portion of the public, and sometimes that can be public officials, leaders, just the right people.
Part of the thing there is that, you know, one of the things that we've done over the years is craft branding systems and marketing systems and solutions, digital marketing and everything else for our clients. And then we realized that several clients over the years, they need to be in touch with government leaders to get their initiative through. Or in the case of campaigns that we've worked on, the government has come to us, for example, in the case of Virginia Energy Sense with the State Corporation Commission, other government entities, and saying, hey, look, we've got something that we want to share with Virginians, right? An important message, an advocacy campaign. And that's where we've partnered, I think, the best over the last few years. We've taken some things, gone through, and instead of having a contract split up into 5 different companies, we can come together, partner together on a couple of things, like the Virginia Energy Sense campaign that you mentioned, Jeff. I know that both of our companies are small-ish, okay? But together, we're like a larger company that can handle really kind of all sides of the equation. Andy, how long has it been that we've been working on Energy Sense? Has that been 5 years, 6 years?
Yeah, it's been 5 or 6 years. So we've had a lot of experience under our belt, you know, with just that one account.
Talk about how that partnership came to start and how we've continued to work on that together.
Yeah, I think one of the great things that you highlighted, Dave, was the fact that we can blend our services and our experience and our expertise together to serve the client and do so in a way that is seamless to the client so that they're getting the benefit of our kind of collective expanded portfolio of expertise and experience, but in a way that's easy for them to navigate. And as you said, there's a lot of, one of the great things about Richmond and this community is there is a ton of creative talent in the advertising space and the PR space and the, you know, digital and marketing space, graphic design. But I think we all recognize that we each individually have kind of a sweet spot. And so when there's an opportunity to kind of, you know, blend our experience, blend our expertise to kind of form a larger team, I think we all, you know, look for opportunities, seek out opportunities to do that. And I think that's, you know, one of the things that we've had a kind of a great track record of doing with you all. So with VES, you know, we have, you know, a lot of folks on the team who have prior public policy experience working in government, whether it's the local, state, or federal level, working with policymakers and elected officials. And so I think, as you said, we came together, you know, jointly on the VES account because we recognize that with our, you know, government affairs and public affairs expertise, our public policy experience, and our, you know, our PR background kind of married with the advertising and digital wealth of experience that you all bring to the table, that kind of blending all that together was the right solution for this client.
So for folks that don't really know exactly the campaign that we're talking about right now, I'm going to put this into the link there. The Value Your Power campaign is something we worked on with you guys over the last 6 years. And that's helping Virginians reduce energy consumption by 10% by 2022, right? And that's one of the things that we've been working on and made a lot of progress there because people are saving energy. They're saving money on their power bill. And and it goes to all 3 corners of the Commonwealth, right? It's basically to the tip of Arlington, to the tip of Big Stone Gap, Virginia, out to only Virginia out on the Eastern Shore. It's all areas of the Commonwealth. And getting that done, we couldn't do that without you, because you guys have helped us spread that message around to every single community in the Commonwealth by establishing partnerships with organizations out there that are looking to share that information. You know, I was thinking about it the other day. I don't know if either one of you know this. So part of the thing is, it's like, so how do partnerships like this start? How do companies that do some similar things that do a little bit different kind of get together? Do y'all know how this started?
Remind me.
I'll tell you. So this is neat. So I'm on LinkedIn one day and I see this name pop up, Rob Jones. And I think it's my cousin. It's not. It's a different Rob Jones. And I look over at the guy and I go like, I don't know that guy. But we have like 362 connections in common. So I sent him a note and I said, how is it that you and I have never met one another? And he said, I don't know. Let's go to Cheney and have a beer and figure out how that happened. And he and I went over to Cheney. We had a beer, talked about it. I told him what Madison+Main did. Rob told me what Alliance Group did. And I said, well, there's got to be a way that we can partner on something, because that's what you do. It starts with a beer. And we may have had more than one. I'm just warning you right there. But that's how it started. Just reaching out to someone and saying, hey, I keep hearing this name. I hear they do good work, and then here it is almost 10 years later. And we partnered on 4 or 5 contracts now, and done some work, done a lot of different work. One of the things I want to talk about today that, and I'm embarrassed to say, I didn't know, because we've been working together for so long. You guys do some nonprofit fundraising stuff too, right? You work a lot with nonprofit organizations. Tell me a little bit about that part of the practice, Jeff.
Yeah, so I think Andy may be able to better answer this, but yeah, that is the nonprofit side is part of our association management side, and I recently worked with a client who did some fundraising for that. It was one of the associations that we manage. For those clients, when they've asked us to, and part of carrying their message usually involves some sort of fundraising or giving aspect to that, to whatever their goal is. For this one particular group, they ran a memorial. And they were just wanting to make sure that they had the funds to maintain that memorial, to keep that memorial up to date, and to keep recognizing the people on that memorial for their service.
So let's say that there's a Virginia Association of Widget Manufacturers. All right. Mm-hmm. Virginia Association of Widget Manufacturers. You got the executive director. You got a board. You might have a part-time person, but they don't have the staff to go in there and help run that organization. Andy, is that something where they would contract Alliance Group to help you guys run it, do PR, help them with events like their annual conference? Is that the kind of work you guys do?
Yeah, exactly, Dave. You hit the nail on the head. And as an aside, I wouldn't be surprised if such an organization exists, because there is a whole litany of, I say Virginia Association of fill in the blank is my kind of shorthand, and there are hundreds, if not thousands of them out there. So yeah, exactly. That's the role that we would play. If you're a small nonprofit, small trade or industry group, and you have a need for maybe an ED and 1 or 2 other staff folks, then in a lot of instances, it makes more sense for your board or whoever your governing organization is to turn it over to us, and then we can run and operate it in kind of a turnkey fashion in a more efficient and cost-effective manner than if you, the governing body, were to, hire those folks independently, find, housing for them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it would be, handling their annual meeting, their other meetings. It would be kind of, as you said, PR assistance. It could involve government relations assistance, so kind of the soup to nuts.
So you've got the, Virginia Association of Widget Manufacturers. And by the way, you were right, they probably do exist. And the other thing I'll say is we're probably a member. I mean, because we join everything. I don't know. But so that association is a 501c6, right? So it's a membership organization. And so they've got a skeleton crew. They get you guys to help, and then you help. then you go through here and put together strategies in the fall, because they've got a bill on Capitol Hill and I'm just a bill. It's like saying, I want to make sure that we make widgets available to, indigenous communities, in Virginia. Okay, well, great. Well, then that's a great idea, and everybody gets behind it, right? And you go through and you help them put that together. You get people rallied around in the GA and the House of Delegate side and the Senate side. You get sponsors, you help them, and then lo and behold, the Widget Assistance Act is passed, right? And then the governor signs it, and it goes into law. That's kind of cool. That's like getting something done. What does it feel like when you get that kind of stuff done?
Yeah, I mean, that's really exciting. And the way it gets done is you harness kind of the collective voices of that entire membership, and then all of their partners, all of their stakeholders. So as you know, as a kind of a veteran of how the Virginia General Assembly operates, those bills get passed when you kind of are able to harness kind of a groundswell of support that starts with, the widget makers and their employee and employer base, and then all of kind of the partners and stakeholders that they interact with, and kind of, harnessing all of those voices. But yeah, it's exciting when you can get something like that over the finish line. Right.
I'm fascinated by this work. So too, and that's one of the things that I think that, if you're an industry or trade association or something like that, and you're trying to look to do business with Virginia, like through Electronic Virginia, EVA, if you're trying to level the playing field in terms of like competition, or if there's some sort of regulatory thing involved there, I don't think the average business owner or average like smaller trade association would even know where to begin. What do they just call up their House of Delegates member and start complaining, and then see if they've got a sympathetic ear? But you guys take that process up front and probably are realistic in the expectation to say, hey, look, I think we can get the Widget Act passed this year, or it's going to be a 3-year process because you don't have a prayer, or whatever the situation may be, right? I mean, it's so where, Jeff, when they're going through that process and they're thinking, hey, I want to get my bill passed, I want to get my idea made into law, where do you guys jump into that process?
Well, that kind of depends on where that association is in that process when they come to us. Sometimes they can come to us and the bill's, far along and they just need an extra push. And sometimes they come to us with an idea and say, hey, we need this. So the first thing that we do is kind of assess, where they are currently. And then depending on what their needs are, we make that assessment of, what the messaging needs to be around it, who all needs to be involved. We start developing a roadmap, how we're going to get there. Certainly we help manage the client's expectations of maybe you're not going to get everything, but you can get this piece done reasonably easily, or
right.
And we just continuously work with them all along. And the nice part about that is that if you're a small association, you don't necessarily have someone who's going to be able to dedicate their full amount of time to this. And that's the benefit for small trade associations coming to Alliance Group and leveraging our contacts, our resources, our knowledge and experience with government and government processes, and we certainly help get that over the finish line.
So right now, for example, in Virginia, they're changing names to like a lot of schools and stuff like that. So let's say in Chesterfield, I want to get Dave Saunders Elementary. Like I think this is something a lot of people could get behind, right?
Just a great idea.
Name, right? So or if I want Dave Saunders Day in the Commonwealth, I think that would be like, it should be like a holiday, like maybe day after Christmas or something, so people can recover. What do you think? Is this like, so I would come to you and I'd say, hey, look, I want a school named after me. I want my own holiday. Well, both of you know that's just an idiotic idea, right? So how would you break that to me to say, Dave, that's just an idiotic idea, and we don't want to take our money from that?
Probably.
Well, go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say, probably we tell you over a beer or two, maybe some.
You break it to me gently. Just let me know my bill doesn't have a shot. I mean, I guess that's got to be a hard part of the business too, because somebody might come through and they think it's the best idea in the world, but maybe it doesn't move the agenda forward. Maybe it's not something that you can get coalesced, right? I mean, and that's got to be tough too. But I guess during that process, earlier is better as opposed to coming to you like in April, like after I think it's over. I mean, like you can't do anything right by then.
Yeah, well, and even if a bill isn't realistic, the first stage in that is educating people on what it is you're trying to do. So even if it's not realistic to, get Dave Saunders Day passed this year, what we could do is start by educating people as to why Dave Saunders Day, that today Saunders Day is a thing and that everybody should be overjoyed about this.
Exactly. We could get a petition. We could get people to sign it. We could send it to the governor, right?
Yeah, exactly. We got to educate people as to who you are and why this is important. And then we can.
Here's the thing. Everybody knows me, Jeff. I hate to break it to you, but that's the thing. We don't have to do that first part because literally.
First that's already done. Excellent.
I'm internet famous. I can tell you that right now. But just kidding. Andy, but getting back to that, so I imagine in the Capitol, there are other government relations firms. I know of a couple, right? I mean, you've got, in our business, we got the Martin Agency, right? And then we got a NOAA guy. You guys seem to operate in kind of that mid-ground space too, between that individual government relations pro or that individual lobbyist, for example, in some giant firm downtown in a tall skyscraper, right? I know that's one of the differences that makes you guys different in terms of what you're working on. What else makes Alliance Group different? What's the takeaway here? So we can say, Alliance Group, oh yeah, they're really good at this, or they're different because they blank. Help me with that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think one of the key differentiators for us beyond our experience and our expertise is the fact that we can complement our public affairs practice with our public relations experience. So if we have a client who needs help down at the General Assembly with a public policy matter, then we can bring public relations experience, significant PR experience to the equation, to the table. And I think that's a differentiator that not many other folks in the industry can do. That we have kind of a sweet spot in kind of related parallel practice areas. If you look at our public policy work kind of married with our public relations experience and expertise. So I think that's probably the key driver. And as you said, is a small firm, we're hopefully able to bring kind of a more direct, more personalized experience to our clients than they might get from a much larger firm.
Yeah, I would echo that just from working with you and also seeing your interactions with the client. One, I want to give you a compliment. You're very thoughtful. You guys work hard, but you also are really, really focused on what the client wants. I mean, you guys keep the laser focus on that. And I can tell you for that, dealing on 5 or 6 different campaigns so far, that's been one of the things. But the other thing intangible, I think, is if other people were thinking about hiring you or partnering with you, I would say that you're fun to work with. All right. Especially you, Andy. I've got to tell you, man, the jokes that you come up with in meetings, man, that dry sense of humor once in a while just kind of gets me like crazy. Jeff's a little bit more slapstick, right? Jeff's a little bit more, like physical comedy. It's kind of like Martin and Lewis, you guys. It's like amazing. It's, but I was going to say are y'all working at the office or are you working from home? How's COVID affected you guys the last couple of months?
Yeah, so COVID it's obviously affected us all in the same way. And then it's also affected us, individually in different and unique ways. So like most office settings, we are in kind of a remote format, although there are several of us who come into the office on a fairly regular basis. Right. Obviously practicing social distancing and other best practices. Jeff and I kind of are among the group of folks who are in the office on kind of a mostly day in, day out basis. But, obviously COVID has been challenging for everyone, us included, but I think we've kind of done our best to kind of adapt as well as we can.
I think we're fortunate in terms of both of our non-essential businesses. Isn't that funny to say that? That we've actually been more essential in this time and more needed in this time. So we've got clients in the senior care realm, for example, that they've been directly affected by COVID. We've had other businesses that have just been completely disrupted. Events, tourism, they have to completely change and pivot to the way that business is being done now. I would say in the last 5 months, we've been busier than ever. It's one of those things. I know a lot of businesses are suffering right now, but it seems to be that in this realm, because of all the change and the turmoil in the business community, we've been hopping. And I imagine it's the same for some of your business clients and some of your nonprofit clients right now. One of the reasons why you guys are having to come into the office is because there's a lot of work.
Yeah, I'll say that COVID-19 and the pandemic and all the social distancing orders and the shelter in place, we've been busy just on the kind of creative side of a lot of the ways, the methods that we had been using to employ some of our grassroots outreach. We've had to simply just completely rethink and retool and come up with new ideas. And in order to still get our clients' messages out to their target audience, it's been kind of a unique experience, and in various ways we've had a really creative and kind of fun process in some ways, just to go back and look at something that was really kind of in place, sort of formulaic. We had a recipe that we liked, and now we have to kind of come up with a whole new way of doing things. And we've been really busy in that aspect. And then we've also had a lot of people who are now trying to find, who are going through that on their own and now coming to us and going, well, hey, we used to do this, and now we don't know how to do that. Can you help us get our message out? Can you help us about what it is we need to?
So with that, taking a look, and I always ask, when I ask this question, I always say, nobody can predict the future, but here's the thing, guys, I want you to help me predict the future. All right. So,
okay.
First off, like in the next, how much longer is it going to be to where we are back to semi-normal in the business community? Are we looking 3 months, 6 months? Are we looking at doing this kind of talk a year from now, next July? I mean, when do you think the Commonwealth?
I'll take a first stab at that. It's obviously hard to say. I think a lot of that will be tied to, the vaccine and its availability. I think, one of the kind of aspects of COVID-19 is that it has introduced us to a variety of digital and technical tools that were either or underutilized kind of prior to the pandemic. So I think, even when we get back to quote unquote normal, and I think we're all, very excited to reach that day, but I think, Zoom will probably be a kind of a bigger part of our personal and professional lives than it was before, but in other tools.
That's leading me to the next part of this question is basically business as we know it has changed. And even when we get back to normal, what are some of the macro trends coming out of this, of things that how is it going to change business moving forward? You mentioned Zoom. Zoom's going to stay, right? Zoom may be one of these things born in the pandemic that stays, right? But what are some other things that we think are going to be, what are some other business practices do we think are going to remain?
Probably work from home, Dave. I mean, I think you're going to see a lot more of that. A lot of companies have been able to make the switch and be nimble. Alliance has, Madison+Main has, And I think a lot of companies are going to see that really productivity didn't take too much of a hit, or people were still as productive or found ways to be productive from home. Not to say that being at home replaces the office environment completely. I mean, certainly there are times when you're social distancing where you want to be able to just go talk to someone, to your coworker about a project rather than have to set up a Zoom meeting. But I think we're going to see a longer run trend of that, especially with schools trying to go, be virtual this fall. I think a lot of people with children are going to be working from home as much as possible to handle that situation. I'm not real sure. I mean, you got Google saying that they're not going to bring anybody back into the office until what, next summer?
Yeah, Google says they're not bringing anybody back till July of 2021. Last thing, and I know we're finishing up, we're at 30-minute mark here, guys, too. Also, look at this environment, like in, when the GA meets, what is that, mid-January, right? Coming up, right? What is that going to look like from a big level with what we've been through in the last year? Businesses still suffering, unemployment still being relatively high, and the Virginia state coffers not being as full as they once were. What kind of macro, is it going to be harder to get spending on programs? Is the government really going to have to make some tough choices in terms of spending and prioritization of programs?
Yeah, I would say that, in most years or in every year, the budget is the kind of the big driver. I would say this year that's going to be certainly the case. And, the General Assembly will need to take a really hard look at discretionary spending. And certainly I think their priority is going to be, how to help, residents who have lost their jobs, how to help local governments who have lost a lot of their revenue sources. So I think that's going to be kind of the focal point of the kind of conversation and discussion of what they look at.
Well, I think that'll be the last plug that I give you here before we get off the phone call. If you're a business association, if you're a nonprofit, if you're an organization looking at getting in with some great PR and government relations folks, call Alliance Group. Call them now, not next January when the budget gets cut, and you want to get your programs in because they can start planning it and fighting for you now. How's that?
Exactly. Amen. Thank you.
Fight for dollars next January, right? It's going to be a fist fight. And sure. I think that smart organizations, nonprofits, business groups, and businesses need to be looking at that to say, you know what, my 2021 doesn't have to be completely ruined because I'm involved in this particular initiative, and I need to make sure that funding is there for whatever XYZ group. Hey, Jeff, thanks, man. Andy, really appreciate it today. 30 minutes fly by like that, especially with Lewis and Martin. You guys are like awesome. It's like getting the brat pack back together again, baby. No, you guys are a lot of fun to work with, and thanks for stepping into this today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave.
You got it. Any final thoughts for the folks watching in Facebook land?
Let me offer one final thought is, we love working with you, obviously, because our experiences complement one another. But beyond that, we love working with you guys because of the people. I think you guys have the same kind of ethos and culture and values that we do. And so I want to give a great shout out to Caitlin and to Art and to Kent and to Leanne and the whole Madison+Main team. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
You got it. Well, Kent and Derek are clapping for you in the background here, because one of the things I like to say is that I'm the only one that matters, and I'm the only one that actually does anything good. So I appreciate you trying to give them credit for their hard work and everything else. But it's my job to stand here in front of them and take all the credit. So I'm just really, really upset that you didn't thank me, Andy. That was the thing that you mentioned everybody else here. So that
was a given.
Oh, sure. Fine. I'm kidding. Thank you for the kind words. The best part about my job is that you and Jeff and clients that we work with say that every day about my people. So it makes my job easier. So I can just sit here and I hit the wrong button. Yeah. Anyway, so that's So go get back to work today and try to make some money. All right.
All right.
We'll see you later.
Dave.
Thanks again, guys.
Thank you, Dave.
All right. Bye.
Perfect button.